Hello students, welcome to AIMS India online classes. This is a chemistry session. Here we are discussing about the chapter separation of substances. So in the earlier sessions we have seen what are mixtures, what is the necessity for separation of techniques, on different kinds of separation technique, different methods for separation of mixtures we have seen. In this session also we extend the same. Some more separation methods we are going to see in this session. Okay, let us start this. First, let us see what separation techniques we are going to discuss here. Those are crystallization, magnetic separation, centrifugation, chromatography, and even gravity method. So these separation techniques we are going to discuss here. Let us see first among them crystallization. Crystallization is a process used to separate a pure solid in the form of its crystals from a solution. Okay, in a solution there is a solid substance dissolved. That solid substance can be separated by making it into crystals. That method is called crystallization. So the process involves cooling a hot concentrated solution of a substance to obtain crystals of that solid dissolved in it. So what they do, they take the concentrated solution of that solid in the hot condition. Then it slowly cooled. By cooling, that solid substance dissolved will be crystallized, means it converts into solid form. Those solid crystals can be separated by cooling. So where do we apply this crystallization generally? In the purification of common salt obtained from seawater. In the earlier session, we have discussed about evaporation. In the evaporation, by the process of evaporation, they obtain salt, rock salt from the seawater, isn't it? They collect the seawater into small meadows. There, because of sunlight and air, water will be evaporated and rock salt will be remained on the floor. It will be collected and then it should be purified before packing, because when the rock salt is collected from the meadows, it may contain some impurities in it. So for that purpose they purify it. In the purification process they dissolve again into water. They form high concentrated salt solution. So from that, common salt will be separated by the process called crystallization. Okay, there it is used to obtain crystals of alum from impure samples. Yes, not only common salt, even alum is also separated from its high concentrated solution by the process crystallization. Okay, and even to obtain pure copper sulfate from impure sample. Even copper sulfate also separated from impurities by the process called crystallization. What is happening in the crystallization process? So the dissolved solid substance on cooling slowly crystallizes. So those crystals will be separated later. That process is called crystallization. Okay. Next technique, magnetic separation. The method of separation of mixtures where one of the components is magnetic in nature. It consists of either iron, steel, cobalt, nickel, or any other compounds of those substances which are magnetic in nature is called magnetic separation. Okay, in the magnetic separation technique we can separate the magnetic compounds from the non-magnetic substances. Magnetic compounds means what? The components or substances which will be attracted by magnet are called magnetic materials, like iron, steel, cobalt, and nickel or their compounds. These all will be attracted by the magnet, so they are called magnetic substances. These magnetic substances can be separated from non-magnetic material. Non-magnetic material means those material which won't be attracted by magnet. So from those, this magnetic material can be separated by using this method called magnetic separation. Okay. So when one substance in the mixture has some magnetic properties, then this method is useful. Strong magnets are commonly used to separate these magnetic elements. As I told, if one component is magnetic and other is non-magnetic, then we can separate these two mixture can by using some strong magnets. Say the instruments used for the machines used for the separation of components is shown here. There will be two wheels which are connected with the belt, rolling belt. One of these two wheels will be magnetic, powerful magnetic wheel it is. So when they are rolling, they pour the mixture of these two, magnetic and non-magnetic components mixture will be poured on this. So it is poured AC. Now, as this belt is rolling, this mixture will be coming slowly towards the wheel. As this wheel is made up of a powerful magnet, the magnetic component in this mixture will be attracted towards the wheel here for certain time. Whereas the non-magnetic material immediately will be fallen down. See, it will be non-magnetic material will fall down here and will be connected in this container. Whereas magnetic material will be stick to the belt for certain time because of this magnetic wheel. And after coming certain distance, it will be left into this another container. So in this way, magnetic particles and non-magnetic particles can be separated by using this magnetic separation technique. Okay. Next one, centrifugation. The method of separating finely suspended particles in a liquid by whirling the liquid at very high speed is called centrifugation. The centrifugation is carried out in a machine called centrifuge. So, this centrifugation method is used to separate the very finely suspended particles dissolved in the mixed in the liquid. So when this liquid mixture is whirled at very high speed, then the solid components will be settled down at the bottom of that container. In that way, the solid suspension will be separated. This technique is called centrifugation, and the machine used for this centrifugation is called centrifuge. See, the mixture or the suspended particles in the liquid are taken into these test tubes like this, and they are fixed inside. And this centrifuge will make these test tubes to revolve at very high speed. They will whirl. So when they are whirling very high speed, these suspended solid particles will settle down like this. Initially they are spread over in the liquid. When it is after completion of high speed rotation, we can observe those solid particles will be settled down. Pure liquid will come up as supernatant liquid. This process is called centrifugation. Okay. This method is useful in case the suspended particles in a liquid are too small to be retained by filter paper. Actually, these are solid particles which are insoluble in liquid, but their size is very very small, so that we cannot separate these by using filtration. So then this kind of particles can be separated by using centrifugation technique. Blood and other biological samples and even milk also are separated often by using the centrifuging. The fat particles present in the milk and the different particles present in the blood, these all will be separated by using these centrifuges. What they do, they'll take some quantity of milk into these test tubes. They'll keep in the centrifuge. So this centrifuge make these test tubes revolve at very high speed. They will whirl inside the centrifuge. Then the fat particles present in the milk will be separated from the liquid component. In that way, they will be separated. Not only that, even blood samples also will be separated by using this centrifuge. Okay. Next, the process of centrifugation is also widely used to separate cream from the milk. Yes, just we discussed. So cream from the milk is also separated by using the same technique, centrifugation. What is the principle involved in this centrifugation? When a mixture is rotated at very fast, the denser particles are forced to go to the bottom of the centrifuge and the lighter particles stay at the top. This is the main principle in this. What they're doing in this centrifugation, they make this mixture to whirl at very high speed. While rotating at very fast speed, the denser particles in the mixture will come to the bottom of the container, whereas lighter particles will remain at the top. By this way, the components are separated in this centrifugation. So where do we apply this centrifugation process? As we told, it is used in the dairies to separate cream from the milk. In the milk dairies, they separate milk and cream by using this centrifugation. Milk will be whirled at very high speed so that cream will be separated from it. And used in washing machines to squeeze out water from wet cloths. Yes, in the washing machines also, cloths will be whirled at very high speed, isn't it? Then the water and the dirt particles present in the cloths will be separated out from the cloths. Okay, that is about centrifugation technique. One more, chromatography. Chromatography is a laboratory technique. Generally, the chemists they use this chromatography to separate two or more dissolved solids in which are present in solution in very small quantities. Okay, generally, chromatography is used in the laboratory by the chemists, where they separate the two or more dissolved solids which are present in a solution in very small quantities. So, in this way, particles present in a mixture in the small quantities can be separated by using chromatography, the technique called. The mixture is dissolved in a fluid called mobile phase, which carries it through a structure holding another material called stationary phase. So the various constraints of the mixture travel at a different speeds, causing them to separate. So here, suppose we want to separate different color particles present in an ink drop. What they do, they will take that ink drop on a paper filter, like paper which is like filter paper. So that drop is kept on this filter paper like this. Now they hang this filter paper into a container where it contains certain water, and they'll take care this water will not touch that drop of ink. Then what happens if it is allowed to stay for some time like that? Slowly that filter paper will absorb water. So water reaches this ink drop. Then the different components present in that or different colors present in the ink will be dissolved into water slowly. And after those, the color particle which is in lighter weight will move along with the water to the upper portion, whereas the heavier particles or the heavier color particles will move slowly to the upper portion. In that way, the lighter weight particles move away and will be separated, and the heavier weight particles also will slowly move. So they form three different spots on this filter paper. In that way, the color pigments present in a ink drop can be separated by using this chromatography. Okay, let us see activity to understand this clearly. If you take a white chalk, around the curved surface of the chalk, put an ink mark with blue or black ink. Say they have taken a color chalk piece, white color chalk piece, and they kept a mark around the surface of this chalk with either blue ink or black ink. Then what they have done? Now they pour some water in a plate and keep the piece of chalk in that water. They have taken some water into a plate and they kept this chalk piece into the plate. And we have to ensure that water should not touch this ink directly. Okay, ensure that the water in the plate is very little and does not touch the ink mark. It should not touch the ink mark. That care should be taken. Then what happens? Now observe the color patterns that form on the piece of chalk after some time. What happens? We know chalk piece will absorb water. Slowly water will come up and this ink will be dissolved into water. Then remove the chalk before the water reaches its top. The ink appears to be made of single color, but it is actually a mixture of many colors hidden in it. So this we can understand by observing different layers on the chalk piece with different colors. So what happens? What we have done in this activity? We have taken the chalk piece and we have drawn a ring like mark with blue ink or black ink on this chalk piece. Then we have taken some water into a plate and we have made this chalk piece to stand in the water. And then slowly water will be absorbed with the chalk piece and this water reaches the ink mark. Then these ink particles will be dissolved into water and the different particles present in the ink will be starting moving up. The lighter particles will move faster up, whereas the heavier particles move slowly up. In this way, they form 2-3 different layers on the chalk piece. You can see different color rings there. So from this, we can understand that even it is either blue ink or black ink, it is not made up of one kind of particles. Even though it is appears as a single color, it is actually a mixture of many colors hidden in it. That we can understand from this chromatographic technique. This method is an example for chromatography. Okay. Next, gravity method. Separation of components of a mixture when either one of the components is lighter than the other or is soluble in water is called gravity method. So this gravity method generally used for the separation of mixtures in which one of the components is lighter than the other one or one is soluble into the another one or one is soluble into any other solvent. Then they use this gravity method. Gravity separation is used in a wide variety of industries and can be most simply differentiated by the characteristics of the mixture to be separated. Yes, if the components of the mixture can be separated by their characters easily, like one is lighter and the other is heavier, and if one is soluble into water, other is insoluble into water. If the characters are different like this, then we can separate the mixture by using this gravity method easily. For example, in the mixture of sand and sawdust, if you observe the mixture of sand and sawdust, we know sand is heavier and sawdust is lighter component. When the mixture of these is mixed with the water, what happens? I let to stand for some time. Sand will sink in the water, whereas sawdust will float on the water, isn't it? So this technique mostly used in the industries for the separation of mixtures. So there they use a machinery like this in the industries. Now the lighter component can be separated by the decantation process, of course. So sawdust can be separated by decantation and then sand can be separated by filtration, of course. So this is industrially done in this way by using gravity method. The mixture of the two components, suppose sand and sawdust, let us suppose. The mixture of these two will be poured on a platform with wedges, ups and downs, and water will flow on it. Now, this mixture, if it is flown on this, the heavier component, that is like sand, will be fixed in these wedges, whereas the lighter component, like sawdust, will flow along with the water. So, water and the lighter gang particles will be flown away, whereas the heavy particles will be remained in these wedges. In this way, lighter components and heavier components can be separated by using this gravity technique. Mostly, this technique is used in the industries to separate impurities present in the metallic substances which are called ores. Okay, this is about gravity method. Next, separation using more than one method. Till now we have seen separation of mixture of two or more substances by using a technique. But sometimes we are faced with mixtures and solutions that cannot be separated by the use of a single separation technique. A number of such techniques need to be applied simultaneously to achieve the desired result. Okay, for the separation of certain mixtures, we need to use more than one kind of separation techniques often. For example, take in case of salt and sand mixture. How can we separate sand and salt? Can we separate by hand picking? No, it is very difficult. Can we separate by filtration or winnowing? No method can be done for separation of these. We know hand picking will not work, and considering both of them weigh just about the same weight. So we cannot use this winnowing technique also, and hence we try to separate the two with the help of filtration or decantation, isn't it? So this is the process we do generally. We take a beaker and add water to the said mixture, salt and sand. Then what happens? While salt dissolves in water and sand deposits at the bottom of the beaker and can be separated from the salt solution with the help of filter paper or filtration, isn't it? So if we take the mixture of sand and salt into a beaker and if we pour water into that, then what happens? Salt will be dissolved into the water and the sand will be remained at the bottom undissolved. Now, this sand and salt water can be separated by using technique filtration, isn't it? Now, what happens? Salt solution will be collected into the another container. Sand will be remained in the filter paper. In that way, one component is separated. Now we have to separate the salt from water. Sand is separated, but salt is remained dissolved in the water. That also we need. So we have to separate that from the water. For this, we will use the methods of evaporation and condensation simultaneously. Actually, if we want only salt, then we can use simply evaporation. But if we want to get back water also, then we have to use condensation process also. So what happens if you take that salt water in a kettle? Well, if you heat that solution, we observe the vapors of steam starts to rise from the spout of this kettle. So if you take that remained salt water into a kettle, if you heat it, what happens? We observe water vapor comes out from this kettle. If we allow this steam to come in contact with a metal plate which has some ice on it, so if we keep a metal plate in the path of this water vapor which contains some ice cubes on it, then the steam gets converted into small drops of water which we transfer into another container. So if this water vapor touches this plate, cooler plate, what happens? Immediately this water vapor condenses to droplets of water. So those droplets of water will be collected into another container here and thus successfully managed to separate salt which gets left behind in the kettle. Okay, if you continuously heat like this, what happens? All water in this will be evaporated and condensed back to be and will be collected in this container, whereas salt will be remained inside of this kettle. Okay, in this way salt and a sand mixture can be separated by using two techniques simultaneously. Okay, in this way we use sometimes more than one separation method for separation of certain mixtures. Okay, thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our YouTube channel Aims Today and visit our website aimstoday.in for latest updates on recorded videos.